Hello, worship guitarists. Welcome back to another exciting edition of Guitar University. This is episode 3, and in this episode, we're going to talk about dynamics and intensity. So, specifically, in the context of our common language, what is appropriate to play and when? So, we're going to talk about pickup positions, picking methods, particle verb, and padding. And so, what does all this mean? And so, why is this topic important? Well, let me demonstrate. I am going to play a riff from one of our favorite songs, Touch of Heaven, twice, and we'll analyze the difference. And so, after watching that, you've probably determined that one of those riffs was appropriate and one was not. So, though they sounded drastically different, I was playing the exact same notes. And so that is the purpose of this video, is even though you're playing the same notes, you've learned all the material. Now let's talk about your pickup positions, your picking, the intensity that you're playing. And so we'll try to fit that in the context of our common language. So let's start with pickup positions. So how does the pickup position affect your tone? So here is an image of a Fender Stratocaster with 3 single coil pickups, also known as SSS. You might have a Gibson with 2 humbuckers. That's fine. The idea is pretty much the same. So what does the pickup do? Well, it mainly has to do with your brightness. So what do we mean by brightness? The bridge pickup is brighter, so when we say bridge, we're talking about this pickup, the one closest to where the strings end on your guitar right there. That's the bridge. That means it has more treble, which means higher frequencies, and so notes played while you're in the bridge position, it'll cut through the mix of the band easier, so it's more ideal for lead lines, so it'll stick out more compared to the rest of the band. And so the neck pickup is darker, so the neck pickup is up here. And so if you're playing on that position, that means it has more bass frequencies, so lower frequencies. And notes played in the neck position will sound muddier. And that's a guitarist's way of saying it won't easily stand out in a full band part of the song. So this position is more ideal for rhythm guitar, particularly strumming chords or playing soft lead lines during a down part of the song. So similar to the example that I showed you from Touch of Heaven. The first example was me playing it correctly. So I was playing in the neck pickup up here, and I was gently picking the notes, and I had no distortion on. In sample B of that demonstration, I played in the bridge pickup position. I picked the notes a little heavier, and I had distortion on. All right, so now let's talk about picking. How does picking affect your tone? Well, the first point I'd like to make is this idea of attack. So what is attack? That is simply the sound that your pick makes when it strikes the string. So we want less attack on a down part of the song and then more attack on a bigger, more full band part of the song. So in sample A that you saw in the beginning of this video, I had less attack. So I was not striking the string that hard. And then in sample B, I had more attack. You could definitely hear every time I struck the string with my pick. And so you can alter the attack in 2 ways. You can strike the strings lighter or harder, pretty intuitive there, or you could rotate the pick in your hand so that it is perpendicular to the string when it strikes. So I got 2 images here. So there's your standard picking method, right? It's parallel to the strings. Whereas if you want a little bit less attack, you can actually rotate the pick in your hand so that the edge slides off the string, thereby diminishing the attack. So just a visual demonstration of attack here. So here is a lot of attack. And here's a little bit less attack. I'm going to rotate the pick in my hand a little bit so that way the edge of the pick just kind of glides off the string so that you don't necessarily hear the strike as much. So again, the first example is a lot of attack. Go ahead and use a lot of attack on lead lines or on parts of the song where the band's playing in full effect. Use less attack on down parts of the song where maybe there is a little bit of a guitar lead line, but you don't want it to be the focus of the worship moment. It just adds a little bit of ethereal, it just adds a little bit of extra layering to the worship moment going on. So attack is very important to know when to use a lot of it and when to use less of it. Moving on to particle verb and padding. I put those together and you'll see why. So first of all, what is a particle verb? Well, it's this icon in the helix, and what it does is it's a reverb effect that basically reduces the attack to 0. So notes played while this is activated will linger or dwell for a significant amount of time, and it kind of gives the effect that you're in a very, very large room, like a cathedral. So when would you use it? Well, you would use it to fill up space behind a speaker so that the room is not awkwardly quiet. You know how you've been to active church before. You know how it is at the end of the sermon. You know, you got the keys going. You have a keys player playing some notes behind the pastor. Then you've also got a solid note lingering also during the altar call. So that's what padding is. So it might be during an altar call, an MC speaker, or the end of a sermon, and it could also be used in a down part of a song. So let's take a look at how to practically use the particle verb. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to switch to your neck pickup, which is up here, that one. Then you're going to want to turn on some distortion and then the particle verb. And then once you have that on, you're going to want to roll your tone knob down to about 5. And I'll explain why you want to do that. So let's turn on a pad. I'll have click on as well, so you can kind of hear. This is what it's going to sound like in your ears. And so I can add some extra layers to that. So we're in the key of G. I'm going to play a single note up on the top E string here. And so the reason I rolled my tone knob down to about 5 was because if you roll down your tone knob, you also cut out some of the attack. So I'm going to roll up my tone knob to 10, and to emphasize my point even a little bit more, I'm going to go to the bridge pickup here. So now when you hear me try to play a single note, listen to how it sounds. You can kind of hear the attack also ring out a little bit. So when you do particle verb, even though the point of particle verb is to reduce the attack, you still want to reduce the attack on your end as much as possible as well. So now that we've covered a bunch of different terms and how you can modify your tone, let's talk about the application in the context of our common language, or intensity. So I have a little line graph over here ranging from 0 to 100%. I know it's counterintuitive, 100 should be on top, but for the sake of this video, we're going to have 0% be on top. So starting anywhere from 0 to 15%. So the music director or the platform director will often call out a percentage as far as the intensity of how the band should be playing. So anywhere from 0 to 15%, the guitarist is playing nothing at all, or a particle verb with the volume pedal less than 50%. I didn't cover the volume pedal in this video. That's because it's pretty self-explanatory. It's just the expression pedal on the helix. So to have the volume at 50%, you would just lower the expression pedal to about the half level. Anywhere from 15 to 30%, you're going to either play particle verb towards 15%, or you could do your neck pickup with clean tone notes and low attack, and the volume pedal at about 50%. You can do that closer to 30% intensity when the platform director calls that out. Anywhere from 30 to 50%, you're going to have mid attack. Use your neck pickup closer to 30% and the bridge pickup closer to 50% with mild distortion, of course, at 50% intensity. Anywhere from 50 to 80%, you're going to be on your bridge pickup. Use one level of distortion. You can use heavy attack. You can increase your frequency and strumming if you're playing rhythm guitar, or increase the picking of the notes if you're lead. And finally, anywhere from 80 to 100%, you're going to go ahead and activate any volume or distortion boost. You can stack gains if you want. Heavy attack, bridge pickup, and lots of strumming and or picking. And so just to put stuff in context here, sometimes we don't use percentages. Sometimes you'll hear the cues in your ear say down bridge or down chorus, down verse. So that would be somewhere anywhere from 0 to 15% on the graph here. And then going up a little bit to about, to about that level is a standard chorus 1. And then moving up, you got like a standard chorus 2, and then maybe a bridge 1. And then, of course, a build bridge at about 80%. And then finally, at about 100%, that's when the platform director will call out full or a big bridge or a big chorus. And are there exceptions to this? Of course. Sometimes the first bridge will be a down bridge. So instead of playing at this intensity, maybe bridge 1's down here. And maybe you'll start off with a huge chorus, which will be more up here. So it all depends on the flow for that weekend. Here's some advanced bonus content for you all. Doesn't come up too much in worship, but when it does, it's pretty cool. So I'm going to tell you how to do a pinch harmonic, and what that is kind of when the guitar screams a little bit. You heard it in sample B earlier in the video at the end of that Touch of Heaven riff. What you're going to do is you're going to hold your pick standard, but you're going to choke way up on it so that barely any pick is showing. And then the small amount of pick that is still showing, you are going to strike the string, and then your thumb is going to immediately follow the strike and kind of mute the string, giving it a little screaming effect. So observe. So here's the standard strike. I'm going to choke up like this, and then strike the string. Note, it only works on the bridge pickup with lots of distortion.